Hey, Neo fam, happy Tuesday to you. The market is not yet open, at least at the start of my recording this. So I'll come back and we'll talk NIO Stock at the end of the video, and I'll pull that up and we'll see if the market is open. I'm not sure if it will be. There's quite a bit that I want to cover here because we did get insurance registration data at NIO with 6,700. That's the approximate number for September 15th through the 21st. And I've been tracking this for years, okay? But the reason that I track it is not because I expect it to be exact. I want an idea of what's going on. I want to have a little bit of an indicator for how NIO is doing with things. And so I decided to pull up the December numbers from 2024. That was the monthly delivery record that stood until this last month of August, barely surpassed it. But I wanted to offer a couple things. First off, let's look at the insurance registration data and see how it compares to the actual monthly delivery numbers that NIO shared. So this is from the NIO site. They delivered 31,138 vehicles. This was in December of 2024. It was a high monthly record, and it remained the high monthly record until, as I said, this last month of August. But the data that we had from that month that I shared was the first 3 full weeks, 5,100 for December 2nd through the 8th, 6,100 for December 9th through the 15th, 7,500 for that third week. And then the final week, they did 10,700. That still is the weekly record. And that's the number we're going to probably see broken next week. But these 4 weeks total up to 29,000, 400. So 29,400. And by the way, that did not include December 1st, December 30th, or December 31st. So the numbers are actually pretty comparable. If we come back and look at the full month delivery numbers, 31,138, and the data that we had for basically 28 of the 31 calendar days showed 29,400. So pretty close. And really, I think if we want to simplify, and we'll come back to this data now briefly, and then we'll break it down a little bit further. My thinking is basically in a 31-day calendar month in December, and then once again, last month in August, NIO was able to do about 1,000 per day throughout the course of the month. But the good news is they've got Factory 3 online. And so that means they will have more production. So provided they can get the production, out and the cadence out of these vehicles with all the new ES8 orders to delivery centers and then get them delivered, I think we could still see the low end of guidance hit. I think it's going to be close because I do think NIO is going to have to crush it. And by the way, I do want to pull this up because back in April of 2025, so almost five-ish months ago, William Lee was talking about how soon we would be seeing 9,000 on the weekly side. We haven't seen it yet. We have seen 8,000. We've even seen 8,200. But I think next week is the week we're going to see a much bigger than 9,000 number. We'll have to for NIO to come close, after all, to the guidance, which would mean they would also need to come in with a new delivery record and probably beat last month's by a couple thousand. So there are a couple other things I want to point out as we go through a little bit further here with the breakdown. This is across the 3 brands. So we've got Onvo with 2,800, and I'll show you why that number isn't bigger in just a minute. The NIO numbers are comparable to what we saw the last couple of weeks, 2,600. And this is consistent with what I was wondering. NIO Day was on Saturday. Saturday, government offices are closed. So even if there were deliveries, and I don't know if there were on Saturday, NIO Day, which I kind of doubt, but if there were, they probably still didn't get insurance registration data filed due to government offices being closed. Same deal Sunday. And I believe my understanding is that there are 3 work days from the time someone takes delivery in China to when they actually have to get the insurance registered. So that would mean whatever deliveries were done early on, we'll see next week. So again, I'm expecting a very big number next week, and hopefully we will see an 11,000 or bigger number. I think we'll need to see something like that for NIO to come close to the guidance. Now, this is a specific breakdown, and what we noticed, and I talked about it last week, is the Onvo L60. The numbers are really the big difference this month versus last month, and why the numbers weren't as high as early on or throughout the course of the month. And I think that's because of the refresh and also the focus and look at the numbers going up for the Onvo L90. So, I think the reality is that, this is a a one-off. We don't know what the status is behind the scenes with the Onvo L60, but it does seem to be the reason that the numbers overall aren't quite keeping pace with last month. And again, back to the advantage that NIO has this month in September with Factory 3 coming online and the ES8. And they knew that this was going to be a challenge, just like last month. You know, they were able to do over 10,000 of the Onvo L90s last month. So they're obviously going to be looking to do big numbers this month with only 10 days of deliveries. You know, I'm hoping we'll see a 3,500 number. That would be about 350 per day for the 10 days that they'll be delivered, but we'll see. Again, we'll keep track of the data here on the channel as we get it. The retail volume of sedans in China, the ET5 remains consistent with about a top 5 number, 1,200. Did I say that? I always say the ET5. I don't know if I said it right or not. It's the ET5 Touring. This is the ET5 down here. And it also is usually ranking. So I didn't even queue up the data because I had a feeling this would be a longer video. But I have some data that I'll maybe do in another video about the big picture and why it's still really early in the adoption of pure BEVs, battery electric vehicles, and why NIO still has a phenomenal shot at taking a lot more market share, in my opinion. But now we've got the Onvo L90 with 2,400, a great number really on the weekly side of things. And I'm curious what we'll see next week when we pull this data. I think that will be kind of fun, a little enjoyable to do. But now let's talk briefly about stock price and what I'm thinking. The 4 a.m. Eastern time and 8 a.m. Eastern time, both this morning, those 5-minute incremental windows, you know, big wicks on them, and the lows were 675 and 674. So that's kind of in the back of my mind, similar to what we saw yesterday. Pre-market, there was a I can't remember what it was. It was anyway, it made me wonder if they were going to try and take it down. They did through the course of the day. They being perhaps institutional investors buying, perhaps shorting. I don't think so. I think we're probably seeing some institutions buying. And we won't know until later on. We'll come back and I'll do a comparison of, let's say, some of the funds that have been short or had put positions in both NIO and Alibaba. I did a video a while back on that, and we'll look at that, you know, looking ahead into the future after we see what institutions are doing, let's say, in this quarter. But on the left-hand side, we've got the recent, I will say this is the reversal point. And then what I think we might be seeing is, it's still early. We only have a couple of days with the stock price kind of being down relative to the recent highs that it had made. But I'm wondering if this ends up playing out, kind of this consolidation period ends up playing out here. And maybe this will end up being more like this one, which frankly didn't take as long. I still think trade volume is the single most important or easiest indicator for us to track real time. We will get new FTD data. I believe it'll be maybe early next week, maybe late this week. Whenever we get it, I'll share it and we'll look at it, you know, if there's anything notable. But let me check time here and see where I'm at. Over 8 minutes. All right, I better get this thing up and out. The market is not yet open, by the way. As of my recording this, it is about 7 minutes till market open. So let me get this thing up and out as soon as possible. I'll create chapters and link everything in the description so you can check it out for yourselves. Have a great day. Whenever you see this, I'll see y'all again very soon.